Hi, I'm Diana, the artist behind My McDoodles. Welcome to my channel. Hey, welcome back. Today we'll be creating a simple illustration with these cute cacti. This will be a really cute print for home decor or even just wallpaper for your computer or your iPad. I plan to make mine into a print, so I'm going to create it in a size that would be appropriate for that. So I've made an 8x10 canvas at 300 dots per inch. You can make whatever size you want. Another common size would be 11x14 or 16x20 would be for like a larger print. But make sure your resolution is at 300 dots per inch so that it prints nice and clearly for you. You won't be able to enlarge it if you create it too small. If it doesn't have a high enough resolution. So if you create it at 8x10 at 300 dots per inch, that's pretty much as big as you can get it printed where it won't lose quality. If you create it at 600 dots per inch, you can double the size where it'll still look clear and crisp. So those are just points to keep in mind when creating your canvas for your artwork. The brushes I'll be using today are from my Watercolors bundle. It's available on Etsy. If you don't have my watercolor brushes, just use whatever watercolors you have, or you can go into the calligraphy section of the Procreate library and choose this brush called Blotchy, and that will work well too. They have a watercolor brush built into the app under painting, and it's called Watercolor. However, I honestly don't think that this looks like watercolor. I love this app, but I don't love this brush. So I would not recommend this one. To me, this looks nothing like watercolor. So I would choose either the blotchy brush or whatever watercolor brush that you own. Just go ahead and use that, or you can just use your favorite brush and set the opacity down a little lower so you'll be able to layer your elements where it still retains that like kind of glazed feel. So for example, if you're using the monoline brush and you want to be able to layer your elements, you can either reduce the opacity up here in the layers menu and put it about like halfway, or you could draw with it at lower opacity if you use the slider over here and set it to whatever you choose, and then it goes on like a glaze. I'm going to grab my watercolor brush that's called Heavy and use that for the majority of my drawing, and at the end we'll do like a color burn layer to really bring out the texture in the elements. So this is a pretty forgiving design. It's kind of just going to be really loose, and it's not realistic at all. It's just a really fun, quick project that makes a cute impact in like a print on a wall or something. So I'm going to leave my background as white, but you could always drop color into this first layer and play around with like different colored backgrounds to see how it looks with your design. But I'm going to leave mine white. So in my first layer, I'll draw my first cactus, and it's a really loose design. You just can draw it with a straight line down and then a curve up and a curve the other way up. You don't want to lift your pen while you're drawing because you want it to be one smooth shape. If you lifted your pen, it'll just glaze over, which it just depends on the look you're going for, but I wanted mine to be all uniform and I don't want these like glazed areas. But if you do have that and you do want to blend it out a little bit, you could. You can just grab the smudge tool and just kind of like tap over the areas that are darker, and you'll kind of blend it like as if it was watercolor paint that's like bleeding into the other area. But for this one, I want to keep mine as this uniform look here. So I'll just go through and fill in the page to fill in like the white spaces with a bunch of different cactuses, and it's okay if they overlap. I'm going to make one cactus per layer. That way I can move them around the page as I need to. And then you can go through and kind of arrange these a little bit. Fill in the space as you need to. And I like mine overlapping a bit too, so it does give like that glazed effect as far as like elements overlapping. I'm just gonna go ahead and select all of them and group them up into a folder so that I can move them around the page as one whole group and resize them and everything as I need to. I want to leave a little bit more around the border so that if this is a print that somebody would like to frame, they have room to put like a mat in their frame. And if they don't want to mat it, then they still have the option to just frame it as is and it'll still look nice. So once you get everything arranged on the page the way you like it, then we can add a new layer and then just add in some little elements to fill in some more space. So I'm going to grab this like pink color and just stay with that same brush, only reduce the size a lot. And then just add in some like little elements here and there to just fill in the gaps. I have my pink stars in one layer and then these like gold kind of squiggles and dots in another layer, and I just went through and looked for little areas that might need to be filled in to give this like a more round or like a nice shape when you look at it. It helps to zoom it out like kind of small and see it from afar, and then you'll be able to kind of see where you need to add elements to make it more of like a rectangular design, or where it's not like a lot of weird white gaps and stuff. So I am going to leave this just like this, and then the last thing we'll do is add a color burn layer over top just to give it like an extra little bit of the texture and dimension, and it kind of brings out the colors a little more too. I'm using an iPad Pro and it generally does not look this bright. When I print my design, the colors look a little more muted and it's not as vibrant as it looks in this app. So to kind of get around that and make sure my colors still stand out and don't look kind of dull, I like to add a color burn layer over the top a lot of times to really bring out the nice colors and make it look like what I'm actually seeing on the screen when I print it. So I'm going to make a layer all the way at the very top and click the end, set it to color burn, and use a texture brush. So I have these quick textures that I really like. It's also from my Etsy shop. I'm going to go ahead and grab one of these, see how number 9 looks. And you need a light gray. If you don't have this bundle, it's okay. You can just go into the free brushes that are included with the Procreate app. If you go into the artistic category, they have a lot of nice ones in there. So something like this Qual or Old Bleach or Terralia, these would look nice. You could try one of those and just see how that looks to add in your color burn or your texture layer. And I like to reduce the opacity over here so that I can layer it on. So I'm going to put it like halfway. And these work really well because they are really huge brushes. They're intended to add a quick texture layer over the top of your canvas for like your final layer and just to give it some more visual interest. So they're designed specifically for this. You won't be able to see what you're doing if you set it to color burn right off the bat, but if you have it on normal, you can see how this is adding just little bits of fun texture here and there, and you can layer it on too. If you have the brush opacity reduced, you can bring out different areas, and you can also play around with your gray color and use a darker gray to bring out a little bit more. And if you have it set the color burn rate off the bat, then you can see how it's affecting your layers underneath, and you can know if you need to add more or less or whatever. So something like that looks good to me. There's also a bloom tool in the watercolors bundle if you would like to go in with that and add like a little bit of these blooms here and there with a clipping mask. We'll add a clipping mask on the top, and then grab that like bluish color, or even this darker one would be good too. And then grab the bloom tool. You can reduce the opacity and make it pretty big, kind of play around with those. And then you just tap over the area you want to add the little watercolor splotches. And it just adds like a subtle effect, but it makes it look more like real watercolors. So that's our project for today. You could upload this to a print-on-demand website such as Society6 or even to your Etsy shop and then offer it as a printable digital download or a physical print. I think something like this that's really simple but interesting, it can add like a really pretty piece to a gallery wall. I hope this project was fun for you. If you share your work, be sure to tag me on Instagram at MyMcDoodles so I can see the print that you created. If you like this video, then click like and don't forget to subscribe before you go so you don't miss out on the next fun tutorial. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.